Good evening. I recently picked this book up, entitled London's Moving. This was published in 2007 and it presents an overview of what was planned to happen with transport in London over the next few years. It covers everything from airports to roads to rail to some frankly quite out there proposals that I'd like to cover in more detail in future videos. But today I'd like to look at something the book only mentions briefly, and that is the idea of building a station to serve the Tate Modern. The Tate Modern is a huge art gallery on the south bank of the Thames. It opened in 2000 and is a key part of the regeneration of Southwark into a major cultural quarter. Apologies for using the cliched term quarter to describe a redevelopment. I was bitten by a radioactive estate agent. Anyway, it's a popular tourist attraction. It's built inside the old Bankside power station, and as such, it's also a reminder of this area's industrial past. Now, of course, if you know the area, you will know that there are several stations within walking distance of the Tate Modern. And you may also be thinking, well, Blackfriars station is basically next to it. You couldn't get much closer. These things are true. But back in the early 2000s, things might have gone differently. Blackfriars station is unique in London. It's a station that spans the River Thames. One entrance is on the north bank, the other is on the south. And that's the one that you need for the Tate Modern. It's a total rebuild of the original station, which opened back in the 1860s and could only be accessed from the north bank. The rebuild was completed in 2012 as part of the Thameslink programme. Thameslink was a project in the 1980s to give London a north-south rail route and thus revitalise the much-neglected commuter lines of the southeast. It was a fairly low-budget concept. Most of it was built using already existing railways like the Snow Hill Tunnel and the Metropolitan Widened lines. As it proved its usefulness, it was upgraded. This culminated in the Thameslink programme. This was begun as Thameslink 2000, but the schedule slipped a bit. This was partly a result of objections to the plan. One of those objections was to the rebuilding of Blackfriars. The major complaint was that it would block the view east from Blackfriars Bridge. The design was reworked to be less obtrusive, but the complaints remained. In 2003, the author Vic Mitchell put forward a proposal for an alternative, which was later republished as part of his book, London's Termini Past and Proposed. This involved keeping Blackfriars more or less as it was and building a new station on the south bank. Well, I say new station, but it would largely reuse the site of the abandoned Blackfriars Bridge station. This had been built in 1864, closed to passengers in 1885, and kept in use as a goods station until 1964, just short of its 100th birthday. This ramp is the most visible remnant today. The proposal would have included both through platforms and a bay platform. The entrance would have been here on Southwark Street, where a number of rail operators had their offices. I can imagine those operators secretly thinking that maybe putting passengers that close to management wasn't such a great idea. Perhaps the most interesting aspect of this is that it would have incorporated the Cross River tram. This was another early 2000s proposal for a tram line that would run from Camden Town in North London to Peckham and Brixton in South London. It was to take pressure off the underground and provide much-needed rail links in South London. In 2003 it was under very active discussion. Unfortunately, in 2008 it was cancelled due to a lack of funding. The concept was revisited in 2016 but not revived. It looks like it's not going to happen. It's a project I'd like to cover more in a dedicated video one of these days. Add it to the list. Clearly Dr. Mitchell's proposal was taken seriously enough that it was under consideration for the actual Thameslink programme, as evidenced by the fact that it shows up in London's Moving. Another interesting thing that is mentioned in the book is upgrades to an existing station in Bermondsey, which is weird because there is not and never has been a Thameslink station in Bermondsey apart from London Bridge. But that's clearly not what they're talking about because London Bridge is mentioned separately. I know there was an idea to reopen Southwark Park Station, which is in Bermondsey, so I wonder if that's what they were talking about. Anyway, I digress. Tate Modern Station was not built, and Blackfriars Station was. I think the problem with it was that other than not obscuring the view, it didn't really offer any advantages. The only other major advantage Mitchell gives over the Blackfriars plan is that Blackfriars wouldn't need an expensive rebuild. But at the same time, a more or less completely new station would also be expensive, particularly given that land would have to be acquired. From an operational standpoint, I'd say it offers a disadvantage. Trains would leave Blackfriars, crawl over the bridge, and then stop again immediately. This basically guarantees a traffic jam on the busiest part of the network. If it were to incorporate the cross-river tram, it might make more sense. Short distances between frequent stops are basically what trams are good at. But as we know, here in the future, it never could have because there was no cross-river tram. I believe that, obscured view or not, the rebuild of Blackfriars was the best call. It's a long, spacious station that serves both the city and the South Bank. It's an efficient use of space. And the view from the platform is the best of any station in London. Well, I do hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do leave a like and consider subscribing for more. What do you think of the Tate Modern proposal? Am I right in thinking that it was a flawed concept? Or am I just talking through my hat? Let me know in the comments section below. I would like, as I so often do, to thank my donors on Ko-fi, on Patreon, and here on YouTube for your support of this channel. You are the Thameslink program to my Thameslink. And I'll see you all again very soon. Cheerio.